Em says, we see you and we hear you and the slides look great. Excellent.
Perfect.
Okay, we're going to give it another couple of minutes and see if anybody else shows up. If not, we are recording. Oh, sorry, we are recording, so we can always, they can always see it afterwards. And we're doing video. We don't want to get closer to that.
Recording live from San Rafael, California.
Yeah. Excellent. I think we got somebody else who just joined us. We have Janae. Excellent. Hi, Janae.
Hi, Janae.
Okay. Sometimes people get registered for webinars and then they realize that they don't have time to watch. So let's see. It is 11:01, so we're going to give it another 1 minute. Right? Get closer. So Em and Janae are here with us too, watching our webinar. Very experienced members of the Donor Concierge team.
Experienced at egg donor searching, not so much the webinar, but
okay.
But Michelle is.
No, sort of. I think webinars, though, are a good way of reaching people who may not feel comfortable calling us and, you know, getting information out to people who want to just watch it in the comfort of their own homes.
Exactly. So, at their own time.
Exactly. Okay, you know what? I think we should just start. And if somebody joins us later, that's great.
Perfect.
I know we have quite a few other people registered. So,
yay.
You know, like I said, this is going to be available afterwards. So we wanted to do this webinar about how to find your egg donor. And I'm Michelle, and I'm the marketing director of Donor Concierge. And this is Anna.
I'm Anna, and I'm program director here at Donor Concierge. Michelle and I have been here for about 5 years now.
Yeah.
And started out in Gail's. Gail Anderson is our founder and CEO. And we started in her house, started working out of her house.
We did. So Gail started Donor Concierge in 2006, and her goal was to help intended parents find egg donors and surrogates. Today we're just going to focus on egg donors, but Gail's mission really, and on our mission too, is really to give people a choice. There's so many ways to find an egg donor, so many agencies, so many clinics. Like, where do you start? You get that diagnosis that you need an egg donor, and then what? What do you do then? So that's really what the purpose of this webinar is. Somebody else just joined us, which is great. So welcome. Donor Concierge is a member of the Society for Ethics in Egg Donation and Surrogacy and ASRM. And SEEDS really is an organization started within the last 5 years, and Gail's actually on the board. Our goal is to kind of cut out the noise and find ethical standards for egg donation and surrogacy. So.
Exactly. And although you only see Michelle's and my name on there, Donor Concierge is a team. We have great, wonderful people working with us. And the common thing with us is that we all want to help people who are struggling to have a baby. So many stories, and wonderful team to help.
Yeah. So let's get into it. So why, Anna, would somebody want to use Donor Concierge to find an egg donor?
Why would they use Donor Concierge? Because most of our clients have struggled and are frustrated with trying to look for egg donors on their own. It's just such a wild, hot mess out there if you don't know where to look.
Yeah, we always refer to it as the Wild West. You know, actually, those are Gail's words.
Wild West.
The Wild West of fertility. There's no regulation. There are guidelines, and because doctors are bound by medical ethics, there are ethical guidelines. But in terms of agencies, anybody can start an agency, and most of them are very well run and intended, started from the heart. It's a very heartfelt industry. Again, it can be confusing for some people. So
right, it can be confusing, and a lot of our clients actually have tried searching on their own and found they don't have the time to do this,
right,
or just get really frustrated.
Yeah. And,
The
you know,
pitfalls.
we always say anybody can search through all the agency databases, but really do you know what you're looking for and do you have the time to do it?
Right.
Yeah. So let's jump in. So what are some of the ways, we wanted to go over some of the ways that people could find a donor. So there's,
Right.
take it away, Anna.
So first, you want to go to your clinic and see if they have their own internal egg donor program. Highly, highly recommend that you look at that, because the benefits there are that the egg donors that are in their database already have been vetted by the doctors. They've been pre-screened, psychologically tested, most likely have had genetic testing, and you skip an agency fee. So you probably have a benefit as to cost as well.
But there are some drawbacks in finding. So we're basically going to cover 3 ways of finding an egg donor. One is an internal egg donor program through your clinic, the frozen egg banks, and egg donor agencies. So first of all, as we were starting to talk about, your internal clinic database. So people do come to us after they've looked through their clinic database and they give us a call, and we always offer everybody a 1-hour free consultation. But there's some drawbacks sometimes with internal clinic databases, which are
limited number of candidates, as it shows on the slide. If you are looking for a specific ethnicity, and we do have a lot of clients that come to us looking for, Asian egg donors, Indian egg donors, and you may not find them in your internal clinic database or in looking at one database alone.
Yes, and there's often a waiting list because those donors are pre-screened, because the donors know the clinic knows the donors, so they have a very limited pool. So you might not see somebody that feels like family to you. You may not think that you might not think that that's the person that is going to be the right fit for you. And really that's what it's all about. So of course, benefits sometimes outweigh the drawbacks, which are that it's lower cost and they're pre-screened and they may be local. So there's extra costs if you go outside the clinic. However, for some people, that's really important. So next, one of the questions we always get is, can I just find go to a frozen bank and find eggs that are already frozen from a donor? A lot of people, that's one of the biggest questions I think we get when people call and they're new to the industry, is they think it's just simple. You just, go and pick an egg donor and she's right there and you have lots of options, which is in some ways true. But what do you tell people about the benefits of doing a frozen cycle?
Right. Again, they've been pre-screened. Again, you don't have to get a calendar. You don't have to pay a separate egg donor fee, a separate agency fee. They're all usually bundled.
Right.
With all the cost, you would all have it there.
So there's no extra cost because the donor's already gone through the cycle. She's already been to the clinic. She's already had all her pre-screening done. You don't have to synchronize with her cycle. The eggs are ready to go right now. However, we know that there are drawbacks to frozen eggs.
Yes. So most of the time, they'll only come in a cohort, which means you only get a limited number of eggs.
Right. How many?
5 to 6 average.
Right.
And you don't even know, you don't know if they're the best quality from among that batch of eggs from that retrieval.
Right. They do grade them though after they retrieve them.
They do grade them, they test them.
Like what happens, I think, is that the donor will go in, she'll have her retrieval, and then those eggs will be split up into batches. So several families may use those eggs.
And I think the biggest drawback is that it's so much more scientific and looking at an egg as an egg with the frozen eggs versus if you're doing a fresh cycle, it's a different mindset. Right, and then for some people that's fine. And I know that the frozen egg banks do a great job of giving as much information about the donors too. I mean, it's not like you get less information, but it's we feel that there's less of a connection sometimes. But again, for somebody also who wants to just have
a single child, it can be a great way and a pretty, what's the word?
I was going to say convenient.
Convenient, yes, convenient. But what happens, for instance, if you want to have, like, how many embryos might you get from a batch of cohort of 5 to 6?
You don't know. We don't know from cohort of 5 to 6. It depends on their embryo, the grade.
Right.
And if you're going to do PGS testing or sex selection or PGD, then it even lowers your chances of having a good embryo.
Right. Or if you want to do a sibling cycle, the chances of finding eggs from the same donor. So say you're lucky, you have 5 to 6 eggs in the cohort, you get 2 embryos, one of them stays, you get pregnant, you have your child, the other embryo doesn't make it. What if you want to have a sibling cycle?
Right.
So
you
may not find that donor her eggs may not be available later on.
But now, as technology becomes better and better, egg banks have gotten more successful with their embryo formation. And according, this is from the donor egg meeting, on an average, the success rate for fresh donor eggs is 53.5% to go into pregnancy. And for frozen, 38.5%.
Right.
So it's getting close.
It's getting better, and the technology for freezing is getting better and better. And it is the way of the future, I think. But
it will be.
There's always, there's lots of things to consider if you're going to go that route.
Sure. So that's one other way.
So next, we want to talk about agencies, which is really what we do. Is we work with over 80 different agencies, 80 to 85 agencies. We're constantly talking with new agencies. We vet all our agencies. We make sure we know who they are and what their policies are, because we want to be able to tell our clients that this is a great agency, this is what they do. This isn't like Amazon buying it's not like you can return the goods. It's a very different approach to having a family. So so tell us, so you go over the benefits of using an agency.
Yes, so agencies, they vet their donors, they meet them as much as they can. There's higher chance of finding appealing donors that way.
Right.
They're constantly recruiting, they invest in their recruitment to find the best candidates, and therefore you'll have so much more donors to choose from.
Right, and
more
again,
options for
the way that Gail set up Donor Concierge is that the idea is to have a choice. So by working with so many different agencies that we know and we trust and we love them, we work with tiny little agencies that might have 30 donors, but they specialize in Jewish donors. We might work with an agency that has 1,000 donors, so there's lots of choice. That's to say that we go over all the criteria of what somebody's looking for ahead of time, so we can really identify which agency has the donor that might be a good fit.
Right. Yeah.
But there are some drawbacks. It's expensive to do any kind of genetic testing. So if a donor candidate is a new, she's never done this before, the agency doesn't invest in doing any genetic testing.
Right.
I think some do some fertility testing.
Some don't. Right. And it's important to talk to your clinic about what they require of your agency donors, because every clinic would be different. And sometimes every clinic would have a different genetic testing that they use.
Right.
So, those things are doable.
So in other words, if the donor is a repeat donor and she's had some genetic testing, if it's not the same test, they have to repeat it, or
they have to repeat it.
Right.
Because they're not parallel, and you won't find the same carrier traits that, for example, the intended father turned out positive for.
Right.
So
that's a whole other discussion about genetics. Don't get worried if your donor has a genetic carrier status, because we all have some genetic carrier status.
Right.
And in fact, our colleague Shiva, Dr. Shiva Fate, she wrote a great article which is on our blog about if your donor has a genetic carrier of something. It's not, and there's no need to worry. It's the most important thing is to talk with your reproductive endocrinologist
and a genetic counselor.
Absolutely.
And that issue you'll not only see in agency donors. That you
Right.
might possibly see in a frozen egg donor.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because somehow each of us will have some carriers.
Absolutely. We all have issues, you know,
Right.
and that goes down to, so agencies try as much as possible to provide as much family health, self-reported family health information.
Mhm.
And again, you know, I believe you have to look at each donor separately as an individual person.
Exactly.
You know, just because her grandmother had Alzheimer's doesn't mean your child's going to get Alzheimer's. And again, I know the question we get is we find a lot of people are worried about grandparents. I don't think there's any family that has absolutely no issues. You know, we all, as the human population ages, there's common things that happen, whether that's environmental or just natural.
Right. Yeah. So that's part of what we do here at Donor Concierge is we give you information and where to go if you don't feel comfortable about something on an egg donor's profile.
Right.
So that you will feel comfortable moving
Yeah,
forward.
we can really help you to curate a list of candidates that are really suitable for you. So, and help you kind of cut through the noise of, you know, understanding what's important to look for and what isn't. But getting back to agency donors and the drawbacks, it's a much higher cost. You know, how much are agency fees generally?
So yes, generally anywhere between $6,000 to $8,000.
Right.
Is what we see for agency fees.
And then there's travel costs. So the donor may not live in, say you're cycling in Los Angeles, your donor might live in Oklahoma. So she has to come for 2 screening appointments. One for a first time screening to make sure that she's going to be medically approved. And then of course she has to come for her retrieval and her monitoring. Right. So,
but a lot of donors, when they sign up, they know there's some possibility of travel.
Right.
And they're young women. Millennials love
absolutely. You know, it's not that big of a deal. Most of the clinics most clinics have agreements with other clinics in other parts of the country where she can do her initial monitoring at that clinic. So, so it's all doable. It's very, very common. So, but we wanted to talk about a little bit about common things that we're looking. So when we're looking at egg donor profiles, so we go through over 20,000 donor candidates on behalf of each of our clients. Every search is new. We're looking for age. You know, we stick to ASRM guidelines, 21 to 29. We're looking at her fertility health, if any of that information is available, if she's had any testing. We're looking at her willingness to travel and her availability, because those really are the most important things.
Right.
Yeah. You know, people often have a wish list, don't they, of what they're looking for in a donor.
Absolutely. I mean, every family's different.
Yeah.
Every family will have, you know, every intended parent will want to find a characteristic that they really feel is important when they're looking for an egg donor. But these are the common things that we must have.
Yeah, and I mean, don't you think though? I always try to explain to people that we will try our hardest. We will find everybody who's out there who comes as close as possible to fitting your criteria. But there's no one who can replace you. You know, if you're looking for somebody who's your exact replica, everybody's a unique individual. And, you know, these young women who are doing this are doing something incredible, aren't they?
Right.
They're giving a part of their genetic material so that you can have a child. And I think that's, for us, that comes down to, you know, that's the basics, isn't it?
Right. That is. And, you know, they don't come to this decision easily either.
Right.
It takes time for them to come to a point where they're ready to do it.
Yeah. And actually that's a sign of one of the things we look for in agencies too, is how much education does the agency provide to the donor so they understand the process, because that's really important. It is a medical procedure. You know, she's going to have to give herself injections just like she's basically going through an IVF cycle. Right. It's not a comfortable thing.
Nope.
It's not an easy way to make money. Not every, you know, and actually this touches on something else, which I think is important, is that there's a real myth out there, I think, within people as they're looking for donors, that there's this whole array of young women who are just waiting, ready to be picked, you know.
Right.
And that touches on availability. Like, what happens when a donor gets picked? You know, what happens when we see a candidate, we look at her profile, we provide it, show her to our client, then what do we do?
There's an element of time sensitivity because a lot of desirable qualities that people find in an egg donor, most other people will find the same. So there's going to be a lot more intended parents looking for the same donors.
Right. And the sad fact is there actually aren't that many egg donors out there.
Right.
There's not as many young women coming forward to be egg donors as we think.
Right. So we typically encouraged our intended parents to put a hold on an egg donor as soon as they find her interesting or as soon as they like somebody.
Right.
Because she might get taken quickly.
Yeah.
So there is that part of our job as donor concierge case managers. Will help you navigate through that and help you get to that decision quicker, if you would, and help you, make that decision. Not because she's going to get taken quickly, but because she is desirable and other people might also get to her first. There is first come, first served in this industry, and it's very common.
Yeah, and it's again, I keep going back to, looking at each person it's not like these people are just waiting to be picked. They have lives, they have jobs, they have health issues. It's not uncommon. So when we present a candidate, we always have to go back and double check that she actually is available. We talk with the agency, okay, does she want to do a cycle and travel to, San Francisco or New York? And they might contact that donor who says, I'm getting married in 6 months. I just don't have the time to do it. And she hadn't talked with her agency about that,
Right.
So you really have to, first of all, have an open mind, right?
Yeah,
but
definitely.
But have a backup. What about backups?
Yeah,
So,
well, we give you a wider net, so you'll have more options to choose from.
right.
And it would be great to have that backup list just in case your first choice doesn't move forward.
Right.
And it's hard not to fall in love with one donor. That's probably one of the hardest things when you're doing a search, because we're all human and, somebody's gonna stand out. But
Don't fall in love.
Don't fall in love. And
that's what we always say. Don't
hold
think
on
that
to
you're going to
one.
look at a candidate and know that's the one. It's like love, isn't it? Well, some people. You get to know somebody, you make the best of the situation. Actually, that's not like love, but this is not the ideal situation. And as Gail always says, nobody grows up wishing that they'd find their egg donor. We're making the best of not a great situation, but it's an excellent situation because it's a very, very successful way of having a child when your eggs are not viable. Right. So
it's a great avenue to have
definitely
your baby.
And gratefully, because there's these young women who are doing this.
Exactly. So we're thankful for them.
So we have some common questions that we get asked when we're talking with people during a consultation. Okay, I'm going to throw it out there. My doctor says I should find a repeat donor. How easy is that?
It's not easy to find a donor, period. So we do have repeat donors available, but we don't have any control on whether an egg donor will decide to do another cycle or not.
Right.
But there are a lot of young women out there who've had previous successful donations and willing to go through it again.
Right. And also to remember that a lot of people are looking for a repeat donor because that's what doctors prefer, because then they have records that they can refer back to and know that she might react to the medications well. I think, our stance is everybody's, if you can do all the baseline fertility testing and know, every cycle is different too. Just because somebody's a repeat donor does not mean that their next cycle is going to be great. There's so many factors that are involved, and again, it does come down to the doctor's opinion, really. So, okay, next question: how do we know the donor's telling the truth?
How do we know the donor's telling the truth? Again, there is a matter of trust in this process. There is a matter of leap of faith.
Yeah.
And because we trust our agencies and that we have worked with them, have good success with them, they choose the donors and they vet them as much as they can, as they possibly can. But know that every donor before going into cycle will have a psychological evaluation,
Yeah.
face to face with a third party
Licensed mental health professional who's educated and in this industry, this field, so they understand to explain to the donor what's going to happen and what the implications are, so she understands. Okay, open versus anonymous. I'm slightly rushing because I know we're actually at 25 minutes.
Wow. Okay. So open versus anonymous.
Okay, so I want to meet my donor. I want her to become part of my family.
We'll have to ask her.
Right.
Have to.
That's not very common though. I mean, being part of the family. I just sort of. But a lot of people ask us if they could meet their donor, and it's actually becoming, I think, more common. I've seen over the last few years.
Right, anonymity is going to be extinct.
Right,
very soon with technology, and people are going to know.
Yes, and
a lot of things.
They're saying that in our field, there's a real feeling that there is no such thing as anonymity anymore, especially with genetic testing, 23andMe, all these different ancestry things that people, it's very easy to find out. So I always say to people, it's personal choice. Of course, it's for every family to decide, but the child's interests and an anonymous donation, like how much they may not want to know later on in their life.
Right. And also consider that the donor is a young woman who might change her mind later on.
That's right.
She may say today, I'm not open. But
and openness can mean different things. So open could mean that she's open to registering. There's something called the Donor Sibling Registry, DonorSiblingRegistry.org, I believe. Great organization where each party can register and pays a fee, and then for future, if there's any medical problems in the future, they can register those things. And so it's a way of connecting without actually knowing the person's name.
Right. And there's always cultural differences as well, where intended parents probably would never consider telling their future offspring.
And then we get that. We understand that.
Respect.
How much does it cost?
How much does it cost for an egg donor? Try not to get too much into the nitty-gritty, but typically still we see $8,000 to $10,000 for a first-time egg donor.
For her compensation.
For her egg donor compensation.
Right. There's also the agency fees, attorney fees, your clinic's fees. So it's significantly, I would say, up to $40,000 maybe. There's a lot of variables, but that's generally what it is. Okay. Final question, what's your match rate?
Donor Concierge, we've been in business since
2006.
2006, so it's been a while. So I've been here 5 years, and it seems to me that we've reached over 90% of our matching rate. And matching rate to us means we've found you an egg donor, we found you egg donor options, and you've chosen her, and you have been connected with an agency.
Right. We have no control over the cycle itself. We always pledge that we will find everybody who's out there who's a good fit. We're very, very good at identifying donors that are a good fit based on all those factors we talked about. Right. Most importantly, availability, age, fertility, health. Right. We will curate the list for you. It's up to you to make the decision. Nobody's going to be exactly perfect. Nobody's going to tick every single box, but we will absolutely find everybody who's out there, and you have to take that leap of faith. And actually, that's the next slide. It is a leap of faith, isn't it?
Yes, it is. In most people struggling to have a baby, they get advice everywhere. Yeah. And that's probably the worst thing you can say to somebody who's infertile is, relax, advice. Here's what you should do.
Yeah.
So Donor Concierge is here to perhaps bridge that gap.
Absolutely.
We're here to listen.
Yeah.
And we're here to give you options.
And to advocate for you as well. Definitely.
It is a personal choice.
Yeah.
And whoever you choose.
Yeah.
Or not choose.
There's always and when we say taking a leap of faith, there's so many unknowns in this, and there is a point where I always say you have to jump in with your eyes closed and your feet first, because you have to just go with it. That goes back to no donor's perfect. This isn't an ideal situation, but we can make the best of a not an uncomfortable situation by having all the information that's out there. So those are our conclusions.
Keep an open mind.
Yep.
Because there are many pitfalls, twists
Yep.
in the road, and be prepared to take a leap of faith. And we would love for you to get to a point where you're comfortable with your decision and where you say no regrets, no matter what. And help you
Absolutely.
navigate.
Yep, that's the most important thing,
Yep.
isn't it?
There's a team.
This is our team. And so anybody, we offer a free consultation. You're welcome to call us at any time. And we will go through our process and what we can do for you. And, you know, we have a lot of information on our website as well. So we're really glad that you could join us today. We're going to put this on Facebook and YouTube and, you know, all the usual things that you can watch it again. So again, we're happy to clarify anything. So
Absolutely. Thanks for listening.
yeah, thank you. Bye. Oh, I think I gotta end the meeting. I don't think I ended it.
And
There we go.